Welcome to Riding Counsel with Rich Jaffe, where the open road meets expert advice. I'm Richard Jaffe, an attorney and biking enthusiast, and this is the podcast where we dive into the world of motorcycling, safety, culture, charitable giving, and riding right. So, whether you're a seasoned rider or just getting started, let's talk bikes, the road, and everything in between. Let's ride! All right, so hello everyone out there in ridingcounsel.com podcast land. My name is Rich Jaffe. I am your host. I am a personal injury lawyer. I am a podcaster, and I am a motorcycle enthusiast. So welcome and thanks so much for listening. And don't forget, if you like what you hear here and see here, please do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share with your friends. It really helps me out. And drop a comment also if you want to hear something specific. But today I have a really great guest, and his name is Patrick Davis. And we're going to talk about fitness as it relates to riding on a motorcycle. So it's something that I think is really important because a lot of people say they're sore, people have back problems, people have neck problems, all kinds of problems. And I think a lot of this can be avoided. And the thing is, if you're in shape, you're going to have a much longer riding life. So that's why I brought Patrick Davis on the show. And I wanted to talk to him about being fit and elongating that life on two wheels. So Patrick, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Patrick, look, tell me, who are you? Who are you? Give me the 411 here. Who are you? Where do you come from? What do you do?
So, well, originally I grew up upstate New York near Rochester, and I moved here in 1997. I joined the NYPD in 1997, and I did 27 years in the police department. I retired last year as a captain. About a year before I retired, I had a supervisor, a boss who I've worked out my whole life. I got into lifting weights when I was, playing football in high school, but it was never consistent. Like I'd work out for a couple months and I'd stop, especially while I was working. I had a supervisor that kind of pushed me back into the gym about a year before I retired. And I really started getting back into it then. And I just enjoyed how I was moving and I felt better. And I felt like healthier because, the police department, it can be, the scheduling and the stress and it can take a toll on you. And I felt like I wasn't living the healthiest lifestyle. But once I started working out, I did feel healthier. And I retired and I got more into my fitness. I got into fitness, because of that. But then once I retired, I was dating a woman at the time, and she insisted that I go to a yoga session. And I was kind of hesitant to do it. I'll probably talk about this later, but I just felt like, guys don't do yoga. But she insisted that I go. She insisted that I go, and I went, and I really enjoyed it. And I stuck with the yoga. And the way I was moving was a lot better. I just felt like, I felt like I was moving better. I wasn't as sore all the time. And the injuries I had before, I wasn't hurting as much. Well, her and I broke up, but I stuck with the yoga. And I became a personal trainer at that point. I went to a studio called Focus Personal Training Institute in Manhattan. And I took a 600-hour course to become a personal trainer. Right after that, I went to a yoga studio called Three Sisters Yoga, where I got my 200 hours certification in yoga, and I became a yoga instructor. But I really enjoyed the yoga because I was moving, and I started going to a studio in Manhattan called Body Art Training Studios, and that was like a game changer for me. The way, the owner of Body Art, his name is Ryan Daniel Beck. He just taught me so much about fitness and training and movement and wellness. And I've been going there since that's been about a year ago. And that's like a physical therapy based training where, they talk about movement, how it can make your body more, healthier and, move better and just wellness overall. And I really enjoyed it. So I'm still going there. At some point I'd like to be a facilitator with him. I'm working on that right now. And that's where I am right now. I love, I teach yoga. I teach group sessions. I also have 3 clients that I teach one-on-one, which I really enjoy. And that's where I am at this point.
Wow, that's a lot of hours. I mean, you described about 800 hours of really investing into getting to know what physical fitness is all about, and
Mhm.
I'm sure there's a heck of a lot more hours that you invested, and also now doing the yoga. I mean, I used to do yoga, and it's pretty tough, but I'm sure it has a lot of benefits, and you know, all different kinds of exercises, not just weight training. We're talking being fit
Mhm.
for sports and activities. We're not talking just flexibility, or we're not talking just strength. I'd imagine that it's something that we have to picture as a whole. Isn't that right?
Correct. There's so much more to fitness, and there's one thing I realized. Like, look, there's a place for the weight room, and I still lift weights, but you have your flexibility, your mobility, and you have to just there's your endurance, speed, power. There's so much you can work on for fitness, and that you just can't limit yourself to one aspect of it. And a lot of people do that, and I try it when I speak to people. I try to encourage them. Take a yoga class, or take like a Pilates class. Do some movement, and it's going to help your weightlifting. That's another thing too. It's not going to hurt your weightlifting. I think it's going to help you a lot more.
So I'm thinking, look, I ride motorcycles. I love motorcycles. I'm a motorcycle enthusiast, and I have a Harley. I ride a Harley Street Glide, and it's a I'm sorry, I ride a Harley Road Glide. What am I saying? I ride a Harley Road Glide, a nice 2024, and it has a nice comfortable seat,
Mhm.
and it's pretty big. And I'm not racing. I'm not hunched over. I'm more like sitting upright. But the thing is that after a long ride or after a multi-day ride, I'm sore, and it's not
Right.
like I'm riding just like every month or like a couple of times a year and using these muscles. I'm riding a couple of times a week, and I still get sore if I ride for like an hour or two and I get off the
Mhm.
bike. I still feel it. But my thought is that fitness for this type of motorcycle riding really starts before you get on the bike. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, one thing that I know, like when you're riding a motorcycle, you're dealing with the wind, braking, acceleration, turning, and one thing you need for to be a motorcycle rider and be effective or fit is a strong core. That mean for anyone, your core does so much for you. Any movement you do, your core is involved. But the mistake a lot of people think is that a core is like your six pack. That's your core, but there's so much more that into your core, like your lower back, your obliques, and I think you should really strengthen your core out to be a motorcycle rider. But also, like people say a core, the six pack, I got to do sit ups. There's more to a core workout than doing sit ups, and there's so many exercises you can do to strengthen your core. You can do planks, you can do side planks. I do kick outs where I'm on all fours and I kick my legs out to the right and left. And I think that's the most important thing right now, or to be a good motorcycle rider, or to be fit is your core. That's the most for anyone actually. It's probably your most important muscle.
Now, I when I get on a bike, you know, I'm being honest, I don't warm up. I don't take the time to warm up or stretch or really do much of anything for my body because I get
Mhm.
so anxious, not anxious, but really excited to get out there on the road. So
Mhm.
I take my bike out of the garage, I hop right on, and I start riding. And I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about something small, even like stretching before getting on the bike, or some sort of routine that somebody like me I could do before I get on the bike to help me for the times that I'm done with my ride to somehow reduce my soreness.
Well, the first thing I would do is when I would do my wrists, because you have your hands on the handlebars, and I would take my wrists and I would do like a flexing it and extending it. And I would warm my wrists up that way. And also, like when I do, like I do a lot of movement on my hands and knees, so I'll have sore wrists at the end of a session. I warm my wrists up as well, and I do a lot of just I'll grab them on my hand like this, and I just go around just like this to get my wrists warmed up. All right. The next thing I would do is I would go against the wall, and you're going to stand against the wall and put your feet away from it, and you're going to put your arms up, and you're going to lean against the wall,
Mm.
but your feet are away from it. You're going to feel a nice stretch in your shoulders after you're doing that. Also, what I would do is I would do a yogi squat, basically, and it's kind of difficult at first, so you have to work on it. You may not get as deep, where you're just going to stand up and you're just going to drop your pelvis to the ground and just almost be like in a squat. and because of the position you're going to be in, riding the motorcycle, that's a very important position just to warm up with. One other thing I would do is I would do lunges. And a lunge is where I have my leg in front of me, and then my back leg is extended behind me, and you're gonna feel a nice stretch in your hip flexors. And your hip flexor is right in front of your like right in your groin, like right in front. You'll feel a nice stretch there. And if I was to do some quick stretches right before a ride, that's something I would do.
Okay, so I mean, it sounds like something sort of small, but these stretches that you're talking about, what kind of effects do you think it'll have for the times that we're not on the bike, like we're done with our ride and we get off the bike? You think it'll reduce some of the soreness?
Um, Definitely, any fitness or anything you do fitness wise is going to reduce the soreness. Yes,
Yeah.
once you have your body in better with better physical conditioning, it's going to reduce it. And I think too, like it's also I always talk about injuries too, and sometimes I'm sure there's injuries in motorcycle riding just like in sports or anything else. And the better the fit you are, God forbid you do have an injury, that's something you can recover from that much quicker.
So, we're talking a lot about soreness. Any idea or explanation about why we actually get sore? I mean, it seems like our body is like communicating to us, like, look, you overuse these muscles, and we need some time to relax. So, hey, buddy, give me a break. But is the soreness some sort of indicator to even stretch more or exercise more, or does the soreness say to rest and stop using those muscles and get off the bike and give yourself a little bit of a rest?
My answer to that would be it depends. It depends on the amount of soreness. And I kind of ask my clients if they say they're sore, I'd ask them, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, what kind of soreness do you have? And I'm like, I'll be sore after a workout. I'm not concerned about minor soreness because that's when you're working out, your muscles breaking down, and then when it heals, that's when it gets stronger. But if I have soreness where I have pain, and when I see pain like it's almost unbearable, that's your body telling you something's amiss, and your body's communicating to you, we got to do something different. So I would say it depends. If it's minor soreness, I would not be too concerned about it. If you have major soreness, then there's something's wrong.
So on my Harley, I have a 6-gallon gas tank, and it can go, I think the maximum range is something like 240, 250 miles. But
Mhm.
if I'm on an all day ride, I make it a rule for myself to stop at a maximum of 200 miles, or if I'm 2 hours on a bike, that's the maximum time I spend on a bike without taking a break. And that could be like a fuel stop or just to like hang out and rest or something like that.
Mhm.
And sometimes even then, like my lower back will be sore. And we're talking and we're saying, okay, well, soreness is like an indicator that, your body needs a rest. But I find myself stretching my back. So, what is the right thing to do on some of these stops? Like 2 hours into a trip, or another 2 hours, so that'll be 4 hours into a trip. Is the soreness an indicator to not stretch and not do anything for something like your back or your legs? Or do you think that we should stretch out a little bit and maybe that'll help us a little longer in the saddle?
I would stretch, and here's what I would recommend. So you're on a motorcycle. You're on your handlebars. I assume you're kind of hunched over. It's for the ride.
Right.
So your body's in that position. If you said for 200 miles, the next thing I would do is when I get up or if I'm at a fuel stop, I would go the opposite direction. So if I'm here for 200 miles, once there's my fuel stop, I would just come to the opposite. Just have your body do the opposite move which you did before, because your body's sitting like this for so many miles. Another thing I would do is I would the stretches I mentioned before. In the beginning, you could also do those the wrist extension, the lying or the yogi squat, the shoulder stretch. Also, something you could do is you could lie on the ground. You pull your knee up to your chest. That's another stretch I would recommend on a fuel stop.
All right, so now let's go even further. Okay, it's a multi-day trip. I'm cruising. I'm riding probably for the whole day, and I finally get to my destination, and I get off that bike, and man, I'm tired. So is that the time to just go lay down and hit the pillow, or go party, or is it time? I mean, for me, I love partying, right? So
Yeah.
you get to your destination and you're with people. But is it a time to stretch a little more or drink water or something before? Like, is there something little we could do at that time when we get off the bike after a long trip
Right.
to somehow reduce the soreness and the pain that we feel not only, maybe an hour after, but like a day after?
Well, you always want to hydrate. So that's one thing I would recommend. Definitely. When you get off that motorcycle, I'd want to move. I'd take a walk. And I mean, it depending on where you're stopping at too. Are you at a motel or hotel? Could you go to the Can you go to their fitness center? Could you get in a treadmill and walk for a bit? Could you have is there a stationary bike just to ride, just to get the blood flowing in your body? And it doesn't have to be intense too. I'm not saying you have to go work out and just for hours. It could be for 20 minutes. Just ride a stationary bike just to get the blood flowing again, and then you can relax.
All right. So, I mean, it's kind of sort of counterintuitive. Like you're tired when you get off a big trip,
Yeah.
but that's not the time to just stop and
No.
hit the pillow. It's a time you got to exercise a little bit more, I guess, because you're really sore. I think because of the acids that build up because of the overuse of the muscles, maybe. So you want to hydrate, get rid of that acid, the lactic acid
Yeah.
buildup
Right.
that sort of makes you sore, and do that for at least 10 minutes before you hit the pillow or go out and party.
That's the thing about exercise or movement is that when you're tired, if you go move, you will feel better. And some people say that they say, "Well, I can't. I'm just too tired." Well, if you go to the gym or if you take a walk or go to the park and run around, you're going to feel better at the end. And I recommend the same thing for a rider. Once they get off that motorcycle, just you got to move. Do some stretches, walk, stationary bike, maybe take a jump rope, skip some rope for a bit, and you're going to feel better at the end.
All right, I mean, there's probably a lot of riders like me. I mean, I'm in my 50s. If
Mhm.
any of you listeners out there in your 50s and you're still riding, awesome, keep it going. Um, and look, I would love to say I'm in shape. I would love to say I'm motivated, but I'm not. I'm not, and I can't get my butt out of bed to a workout place, like even like a Planet Fitness.
Right.
I'm lazy, but I think I can motivate myself to take 10 or 15 minutes a day, or maybe every other day, to do something
Mhm.
in preparation for getting in shape, or trying to get in shape. If somebody like me has, say, 10 to 15 minutes a day, what can we do to sort of stay in shape enough to affect our motorcycle riding in a positive way?
So if you have 15 minutes a day, it's something I just want to make the most out of that 15 minutes. I want to do some like short bursts of like sprinting. All right. And then I want to do some planks, some body weight squats, push-ups, but I want to do that continuously. Like, I don't want to take a break. I want to do like 15 minutes of continuous movement. Now I can take a break where I'm kind of slowing down the movement to let my heart rate slow down, but I'm gonna always be moving for that 15 minutes, and then have short bursts of like real intense movement during that 15 minutes. Because you want to make if you have 15 minutes, we got to take advantage of that and make the most
Right.
of it in 15 minutes.
All right. Well, we don't have much time left, but I do want to get to something about nutrition. Now, nutrition obviously is important to staying in shape. What you eat is important.
Mhm.
It really affects you. Can you talk to us about what to eat maybe before a ride, during a ride, after a ride?
Okay, well, one thing I got to preface this with: I'm not a nutritionist, so I'm going by. I don't want to give someone what to eat, but I'll tell you what I would do personally. One we talked about before is hydration. Um, I would also eat continuously, like throughout the day. A lot of times people they won't eat for like 8 or 9 hours, and then they gorge, and it ruins your energy. So I would take some like grilled chicken, some pasta, something really, but small meals throughout the day where you kind of keep your blood sugar regulated and you're not losing energy, and you're kind of your energy is kind of even throughout the whole day. And you always want to hydrate as well.
Yeah, that's some real nice, important tips there. So, and it's really easy. You can prepare this stuff, put it in your fridge until and cut it up or whatever it is, put it in little containers, and then you could just throw it in your saddlebag. it's not like you have to stop and have like this gigantic chicken meal, right? I mean,
Oh, correct. Yeah. And one thing I do is like I'll have like I love Muscle Milk, the protein shake.
yeah.
I drink those a lot. So you can take something like that with you on the ride. You can take a protein bar like a Metrex bar if you want to take that with you, and you stop for fuel. Just have that real quick. But it's something you always want to do just throughout the day. You always want to eat like continuously on a consistent basis.
All right. Well, you've given us a lot of information, and I just want to make sure that if somebody has some additional questions for you or wants some more information, tell us how do we get in touch with you? Where can we find you?
Okay, my Instagram is Owaka Creek Fitness 1. That is you can find me on Instagram. I also started a new Instagram page called the Acro Cop. I got into acro yoga through my handstand instructor. I take a handstand class, and she Kelsey, she got me into acro yoga. The Acro Cop is my second Instagram page. You can find me that way. I'm on Facebook as Patrick Davis, and then I'll give you my phone number too is 917-843-8754.
All right, great. And for everybody watching on YouTube, I'm going to try to post all that information down here in the comments just in case. And you can also reach out to me if you need to. Of course, my name is Rich Jaffe. You can find me at ridingcounsel.com, Riding Counsel. But for now, I think we're going to have to wrap up. You gave us a lot of great tips that is going to not only make us happier in the saddle riding, but it's also going to elongate our riding life. So,
well, one thing I want to add too, this exercise is going to keep you give a good focus too, and that's going to keep you safe. I mean, I know motorcycle riding can be dangerous, and you want to be focused while you're doing it. And that exercise, that movement is going to keep you focused during the ride, which is good.
Yeah. Mental focus definitely important. But we're obviously we're running out of time for this episode. If you need me, you can always find me at ridingcounsel.com. And I really appreciate your time hopping on here and giving us a lot of great tips. And
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're going to put a lot of that information down in YouTube. And like I said, if you ever want to get me, I'm at ridingcounsel.com. And if you ever want to get in touch with Patrick, you can either do that through me or the Instagram handles that he already posted or Facebook. But for now, I want everybody to stay wild, stay free, but, do so legally. And thanks a lot for listening.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Riding Counsel with Richard Jaffe. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the ride, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your fellow riders. Until next time, keep the rubber side down and ride safe.